a competitor to the Paddle Wheel Queen and the Paddle Wheel Princess for all three ships' service lives. She was the last to serve of any Manitoban riverboat. She is named after the mighty Red River on which she sailed for many years. This is the history of the mighty MS River Rouge. With the arrival of the 1967 navigation season, a new ship created a rivalry that would span some 27 years. Dan Ritchie, former owner of the Millionaire Drive-Ins, decided to construct his own riverboat to cash in on the growing market for this service. He approached previous shipyards who had previously built the Paddle Wheel Queen and the same year would build the Paddle Wheel Princess, and asked for a modern, sleek-looking river cruiser. What emerged from the blueprints became another Winnipeg landmark, the MS River Rouge. She was built between 1966 and 1967 for the then pricely cost of $500,000. Weighing 286 tons, measured 125 feet long and 32 feet wide. The River Rouge would later be lengthened and refitted in the years to come, and is currently 150 feet long, weighing in at 500 tons, and was capable of carrying up to 400 passengers. She entered service in 1967 and was the main rival of the Paddle Wheel Queen. She offered 3-hour sightseeing cruises along the Red River until the Paddle Wheel Queen and Princess bowed out of service in 2013, and the River Rouge followed in 2014. However, unlike all the other river cruises, with the exception of Lord Selkirk sitting in the slough for most of its life, River Rouge did not have smooth sailings, having many incidences and run-ins over her service career. What happens when higher than normal spring river levels take out navigational markers? Well, on July 29, 2010, the River Rouge found out the hard way what would happen. The day started off in Winnipeg at 9:30 a.m. when the 69 passengers boarded the Rouge for an all-day tour, which is much longer than normal, and were not supposed to be back at the docks until 5 p.m. that same day. Only an hour and a half after setting off at 11 a.m., the ship ran aground on an unmarked sandbar that was only half a meter from the surface, and the River Rouge, well, she needed at least 1.2 meters to cross it. The crew tried to free the ship, but to no avail. They called the Coast Guard, and also called for a tug to come in from Lockport to try and pull the ship free, but it failed. The Coast Guard then proceeded to use a Zodiac, which they brought in on a truck from Gimli that could only take 6 to 8 people at a time to take all the passengers and crew off. The rescue would take many hours. Buses were brought in to take the passengers back to the docks in Winnipeg, and while on the ship, the crew kept the passengers well informed and provided free food and drinks until the passengers were all safely on shore. Then began the biggest issue, trying to get the provincial government to close the Lockport gates to raise the river level to free the ship. It took over a week, and the federal government having to step in to get the gate shut. The River Rouge was finally freed over a week after running aground and managed to return to dock, not suffering too much damage as a result of the grounding. Then, on September 30th, 2011, the River Rouge struck what is believed to have been a log near the St. Vital Bridge in Winnipeg. The Coast Guard sent a small motor launch to take off the passengers. The ship would later make its own way to the Alexander docks, and no large damage occurred and the ship remained in service. But it was yet another incident within a year, and the press was starting to pick up. Lockport gates, well, they were just the first problem caused by a government. This time, the city of Winnipeg wanted to close the Alexander docks after ice had caused damage to them the previous winter. The only slight issue was the owner of the River Rouge had just 3 weeks to move the boat. Even though the ship had a lease and had paid to use the dock for the entire year, and there were no other docks in Winnipeg that could take over and have the River Rouge dock at them instead. Eventually, after a lengthy dispute with the city, the ship left for the Selkirk Slough for the season, or until other arrangements could be made. The docks would be condemned the next year in 2015, and only now, in 2023, are ideas popping up for its revival, but not for ships. However, I have a plan. However, that's a video for another time. In 2016, River Rouge was put up for sale for 1.5 million Canadian dollars. However, he was willing to operate it in 2017 if there weren't any buyers. Yet, the ship hadn't operated since 2014 because of the Alexander Dock issues and of high water levels. There were no buyers, even though he was willing to negotiate with serious buyers. And the business wasn't the problem. The river levels and the lack of a dock in Winnipeg was. Nothing came of this attempted sale, despite his wanting to return the River Rouge to service. He hasn't made any other publicly known attempts to sell the River Rouge. And no one knows what his plans for her are, if there are any, or if he sold it, and it's just still sitting in the slough. No one really knows. The River Rouge hasn't left the Selkirk Slough since 2014, and is starting to show signs of wear and neglect, with a bunch of peeling paint and a bunch of rust. However, most of her windows have been boarded up, so in a way, she is being looked after. She just sits there, and was a sad sight when I went up there only a couple months ago, as seen from the pictures that I took. She appears to be alone. The paddle wheel princess, who I've made a video on, is missing from her spot just a few hundred feet away. She only has the remains of the SS Lubrick for company. She could return to service with her smaller sister ship, the MS Lady Winnipeg, but unless the government tries to bring them back, it is unlikely. For now, she sits alone in the Selkirk Slough, awaiting her fate, and is a reminder of the good times of the once mighty Manitoban riverboats.